wish he was only a legend.
Hey guys, welcome to my tutorial series. In this video I'm going to cover your basic navigation, some shortcuts, and some good workflow tips just to keep everything organized. First thing we're going to do is import some clips, so Control I. And we'll just grab a couple clips here. If you hold down Control as you're selecting your clips, you can select more than one. What I like to do is have a main composition where that's where your song track will be. So let's go ahead and Control N for new composition. Call that your main comp. Make sure your width is 1280 by 720 and your frame rate is 59.94. Make sure your duration is at least 4 minutes, depending on how long your song is. You can trim down this later. Also, each of your clips in your work area here, this is your composition, that's what the emblem looks like for that, and these are just regular clips. I like to take each of your clips and make a new composition, so we'll bring that down, and we'll bring this one down. And as each new composition appears, there's a new tab going across here. For some reason, HD PVRs, if that's what you use to record, it will actually have a black line going at top and across here. Now to get rid of that, we'll bring up the transform properties, so you just do this little pull down menu, and then you have your transform. And here we see your anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. I want to change the scale to 101. That will get rid of that real quick. Now some shortcuts for these transform properties. If you just have your layer selected, you can press P for position, R for rotation, T for opacity, and S for scale. Now trimming your clip, we have at the beginning here, use this little line right here, adjuster, to zoom in. At the start of the clip, we have some stuff we need to trim off. So we'll just move that forward. This is the work area. If you hold shift as you're adjusting it, it will snap to your marker. Or you can press B for begin, and that'll move it up to there. And then the same thing for the back end. Just adjust your slider and hold shift for it to snap. Or alternatively, you can press N for end, and that's where it'll stop. Once you get your work area selected, right click on the work area and trim comp to work area. That will adjust everything. If you want to cut off this part all the way up to where your marker is, you hold Alt and left bracket, it will adjust it right to there. And then Alt right bracket will adjust it on the right side. And that's just a good way to trim clips down without having to actually trim down your whole composition. If you need to split a layer, make sure you got the layer selected and go to Edit and Split Layer. So After Effects uses a lot of resources on your computer, and when you're trying to work on things and get things moving along, this could be a real pain in the butt. So one of the things you can do to speed that up is change your preview window from your resolution from full, that's the full render, all the way down to quarter. You can still see what's going on, but it's not gonna use up all your computer power just to process it, and then you can move through there a lot faster. And let's say you have a certain area that you want to preview, you got the effects set up and everything. If you adjust your composition to that little area that you want to preview, up here in the RAM preview options, you want to change, this is going to make it skip every 5 frames, and then also change your resolution there to quarter. Then you just press the RAM preview button, and this takes a while, so I'll cut this out and we'll be right back. Alright, so just that little window right there to run preview all that took about 1:45 seconds. So the faster the computer you have, the better. And plus the more effects you have on here, if you added a color correction, everything it has to process inside this window is just going to take longer. For the most part, you want to add your effects to adjustment layers. And what adjustment layers are is a layer that affects everything that's underneath it. So let's go ahead and add a new layer. Layer, new, adjustment layer. And as you can see, Control-Alt-Y is the shortcut for that. Now what I'm going to do is, we got 3 segments of this clip right here. I want to trim this adjustment layer down, so I'm going to move the marker, hold shift till it snaps to the very end there. And then I'm going to Alt right bracket so it's trimmed exactly to that layer. If you want, you can move it down. So let's add, you can either go to Effect, and these are all the effects you can use, or if you know the effect you want, you can type it in here. I'm going to type in CC Lens, and we'll just drag that onto the adjustment layer. We'll change the size to 100 and the convergence to 0. Now what I want this effect to do is, let me zoom in a little bit here. As the timeline moves across, I want it to fade on, stay on for a while, and then fade off. So select the adjustment layer. You can see your controls up here, or you can press Effect and pull down all the controls here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the start, and this is where keyframes come in and animation. If you click on the stopwatch, it's going to make a little keyframe for you. Then you can move forward a little bit, and you can adjust the convergence. So let's just put it on 25. Now the directions, what this is telling it is, as it moves across, when it hits the keyframe, it adjusts the value. So if you look halfway here, it's at 13. So it's going from 0 all the way up to 25. Then let's move towards the end. We'll set another keyframe at 25. Then at the very end, we will change it to 0. Now if you click on this graph editor, you can see what's going on here. The value's going up, sustaining it for a minute, and then going down. If you click off of there and select all these keyframes, alright, let's right click on the keyframe assistant, easy in, easy ease, so it's Shift F9, that's the shortcut. Now look at the graph editor, and it eases in and then it eases out. Now let's say the reason we put this effect on the adjustment layer is if I want to take this effect and apply it later on somewhere else, I can Control D, duplicate that layer, slide it down, and then to line these up right here, I'm going to hold Shift, that'll snap it to. Let's extend this out and hold Shift again, and let's bring up the effects. And now you can see where our keyframes are, but because that layer only went down to there, we can actually move those down a little bit, and then we've recreated that effect real quick and applied it to another section of the video. And that's why it's important to put your effects on adjustment layers. We'll just name that CC Lens. And that way you know, as you're building effects, you're going to get all kinds of layers here. So you want to label all your stuff so you know what's what.